All right, good evening, everybody. My name is David Orphanides. I'm an attorney here in Philadelphia. I've been hired by Harry Patel at E&R Management, Inc. They've run the shopping center since 2002. I prepared the zoning application and submitted to the city of Philadelphia. You have Harry's hand. Harry is from E&R. He's also the operator and owner of Quickie Mart. He's handing out everything that basically we have right now, which is essentially sharing everything with you, which is the application, the refusal, and our appeal to the zoning board, as well as our floor plans that show the interior improvements that we're planning to make to the property, to the Quickie Mart itself, in conjunction with what's being applied for. As was mentioned, well, first of all, for those, I'm sure all of you are pretty familiar with this property, but for those of you that aren't, as mentioned, it's on the southwest corner of Unity and Frankford, and it goes back to, I guess it's Briscoe. Goes straight through back there to the west. The Quickie Mart is at the northern end. You have the wine and spirits store, you have the PHA housing office, and then you have the PNC Bank, or the other businesses that are there. Right now, the operation is approved for a convenience store with preparation of hot and cold food for takeout. And the idea right now, as Pete mentioned, was to add the serving and takeout of malt beverages, aka beer. We also, as part of this project, we plan to alter this from just a takeout restaurant, takeout food prep, to an eat-in. There'll be 30 seats. The whole interior of the property will be renovated. When you basically, if you look at it from how you normally would come in from the parking lot, right now, many of you have been there familiar. You have a checkout up here near the front door. You have a deli counter over on this side, and then you have coolers and whatnot, and shelving for groceries. The idea is to have a self-contained area that'll be separated off from the rest of the convenience store, where there will be 30 seats, where people will be able to sit down, eat their food that they order in the property, and there will be, separated from the rest of the premises, will be beer coolers, and once again, they'll be able to consume beer on the property and also to take it to go for takeout. As part of this overall project, not part of this application, but this is the first stage in some changes that Harry and E&R are planning to make to the property. I think, as you can tell from the photograph, it's kind of an older design shopping center. So the idea is this is stage one. Stage two, after this is completed, we'll be submitting to L&I for a whole facade change, which will really clean and spruce up the shopping center as part of the overall plan for this project. It's my understanding that Harry is involved in the community. I think, Pete, if you correct me if I'm wrong, it gives, I don't know, something like $10,000 a year for food for people in the community. He's a responsible owner. He's not reckless in the way he runs his business, and he doesn't intend to start now. I know that there's some concerns here and there about takeout. I have them in my neighborhood, downtown as well. I think it really ultimately depends on the operator and how they're operating their business, and whether they want to be part of the community and they want to have a business that's basically a nuisance bar. I used to represent L&I. I was a member of the first nuisance bar task force. I understand what that is all about. I was involved with that for 5 years. This is not what this is intended to be. There may be some of those institutions or operations in this neighborhood, I'm not sure, but trust me, this is not going to be one of those. He still wants his food operations, he still wants to operate his deli, hot and cold food. He's just adding this element. He's had customers that apparently would prefer to have it. They prefer to sit down, and they would prefer to have this available. And we're seeing whether we could make that possible to offer that to the clients as part of this operation. As you know, as you can see in the photograph, windows all in the front. This is not a closed off, dark kind of bar where people can kind of sneak in and sneak out. Windows across the front, they will all remain open. The seating will all be visible from the front. It's not tucked away in the back of the store. And the idea, once again, is just not to be a problem here, but to provide a convenience in what is already a convenience store, a further convenience. I'm not here to kind of go on and on. I'm not getting paid by the word. I think that's the bottom line. And I think there'll probably be, rather than having me going on, we'd like to hear some questions and hear concerns and things like that. Just so you know, right now, the hours of operations for the establishment are 6 to 10, and the idea is that we change our hours to 6 to 11, but obviously not serving beer during all that time. I think that my understanding is that there's some bars in the neighborhood that are serving very early in the morning. We don't intend to, it's not our intention to compete with them. It's basically for when people start coming in for lunch, to offer for people when they want to have lunch, and then make it available through the evening. We're not going to be open till 2 in the morning. It's not going to be something where, that's not, I think just from the hours you get the sense that he's not trying to milk this for all it's worth. He's not trying to be a bar. That's not what he's trying to do. He's not staying open to 2. He's not, he could legally have far greater hours with service, and that's not what he's looking to do. It's basically his clientele stops coming in generally around that time, and he's going to continue to close that around that time. So he thinks that with the seat-in, the reason for the extra hour in the evening is that with the seating, he thinks that it'll maybe get a little more of a food crowd a little later rather than just a takeout, and that's why he's looking to do that. So right now he employs 4 to 5 people. The idea would be with the addition of the additional seating, and hopefully the additional business, he would hope to increase his employees up to about 10 to 12. I think Harry, when possible, hires in the neighborhood, and he would continue to do so.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So, just kind of catch up. So, is it true he already got the first refusal?
But there's only one. We filed the application, and because takeout of anything, it's actually not even a refusal, it's a referral. So it's a certificate. It's what we call, what's called a certificate. You don't need a variance for it, you need a certificate.
The reason I asked is last time Mr. Patel was here, and we talked about the potential plan of doing a beer takeout. It was our understanding we were going to come back prior to filing anything with the zoning board to see how the community felt about the proposal, and gave us some time to kind of think about it, for him to go back to think if he can still run his business as is, or he will go out of business, which he was claiming. He would go out of business if he's not going to fish beer here. However, he's coming back after he receives his first referral, refusal, or however you want to pin it, and that's somewhat disingenuous to the community, who did not have any notice outside of the fact of seeing the orange sign and someone actually bringing it up and saying, hey, you see the orange sign down there at the Quickie Mart?
We don't have, our
No.
zoning sign's not up yet.
No, the orange sign is there.
Our zoning sign's up?
The orange sign is there.
Yeah, the liquor sign is up.
Yeah,
that's the liquor, that's for the liquor. That's for liquor.
I understand
That's
that.
not zoning. Okay.
But, it
Sounds
ties,
like that would have to come
what
from
I'm
my
saying, it
office.
ties into the zoning, period, because you're going to apply for the liquor,
Right.
you're going to ultimately need the zoning to do the liquor, right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So it's all the same thing.
It's all tied together.
Correct.
Yes.
What I'm saying is, when we seen the orange sign, there was no mention after he left, I'd say 6 months ago, about it actually going forth. So now we're here, and how long has it been since the original application for the liquor?
It's been a couple months.
So at this point, we just talked about the takeout that had in the request, and they didn't come to the community or anything. They waited till they got approval, and now it's too late. So we already behind the 8 ball when it comes to the liquor part of it, because they already put the request in. So folks, naturally, I don't know if they put any opposition or not against it at this point with the Liquor Control Board, but he can get approved, and the committee would not have had no input in that approval or not.
Well, let me just correct it. Let me just kind of address a few things. I wasn't really dialed in on what the other thing, and even talking about the meth clinic and things like that. There are certain things under the zoning code that, like, if he was just simply doing eating, that would be by right because it's C2, and he could have, beer for consumption on premises and what have you. Anything that's permitted in C2. And there are certain things that are permitted. That meth clinic, for all I know, I wanted to say, what's the address? I can check and see what the zoning's for. Like I said, I used to represent LNI. you can do it just as easily. You guys sound really educated and informed and really active, which I think is great. We're not here to pull a fast one. I wasn't involved in the liquor aspect of it. Ultimately, you can't have, he can have a liquor license, it's in safekeeping. He can't use it for takeout without coming to the community because takeout requires a certificate. So whether he came before he put in the application, after he got in the application, before he got the referral, we got to come to you, talk to you. Pete's going to come downtown, he's going to go to the zoning board, and he's going to tell the zoning board what you think. So there was no intention, we were going to come here anyway. The idea was, and I'm sorry I wasn't privy to the prior meeting. My idea was get in, we called Pete right away. We said, Pete, we want to have a meeting. We reached out. We're not sneaking around. You're not finding about this with an orange poster. That's a zoning poster. Because I'm like, a zoning poster. We don't have one yet. We don't have a hearing yet. So we're here. We're here to talk. We're here to have feedback. I'm not here to steamroll. It's nothing like that. No offense intended. I just got involved. But my protocol is, as soon as I file, because the other thing is what we have sometimes with community groups that don't want to hear you until you have your refusal or your referral, because they want to know exactly what the issues are. So until I have that, I generally don't reach out to the community group. So that's my process, no offense intended, not trying to pull a fast one. We're here tonight to talk to you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You made a statement that the liquor is separate from the zoning, and there wasn't really any intentions to mislead people because, he applied for the liquor aside from the zoning that comes afterwards. How much does it cost to get a liquor license?
It varies.
It's pretty expensive.
Let me just tell you this. Let's just tell you it's generally these days, it used to be more expensive. It's between $0 and $100,000.
So you telling me you kick that money out with no intentions of getting the zoning?
Well, usually the purchase is contingent on getting zoning, and you need to obviously have zoning in order to use your license. He cannot use a license until he has zoning to use it.
Exactly. So for you to say that one is separate from the other, or that he was going to do the liquor and the zoning was going to come afterwards, it just doesn't make sense. Like that's. Well,
they're separate in that they are linked together, but they're separate. They're two separate processes. They're reviewed separately by different entities.
But when you go in to buy the liquor license, you obviously have the intention of going to the zoning because you wouldn't spend the money on the liquor license if you weren't going to do the zoning. He came a few months ago and told us that he was going to do takeout. So okay.
For takeout, yes. For consumption on the premises, no, because C2 permits an eat-in restaurant, and zoning doesn't distinguish between the zoning code, the way it's currently drafted, doesn't distinguish between eating food or having alcohol. It doesn't distinguish between a bar and a restaurant necessarily. It's either you're consuming on site or you're taking off site. So
but his
here,
intentions were always off site. He came a couple of months ago and told us.
Yeah.
So, but we're here. I mean, I don't know what the liquor process was with you guys. I mean, the orange poster was up. I'm the zoning attorney, and all I'm doing is I'm coming here and talking to you about the zoning process. They're separate, but they are obviously linked because you can't have the one without the other. So without a doubt.
All right, let me clarify something David didn't put in. Harry applied for the liquor license. He had to apply for the liquor license in advance to see if he would be approved for the area. Now, the liquor license right now is an open license. He does not have the license yet. The license pending if he gets zoning for the takeout. But he had to apply for the license first to see if he was able to get it for this particular spot. Eleanor, he did his paperwork. The LCB came out, they investigated the property, and they granted him a temporary license.
His license is in safekeeping until he gets his zoning. Yeah.
So,
I know that one.
In the event, if I understand it correctly, if the zoning doesn't go through part, the takeout part, he is not liable for the license. But he had to apply prior in order to make sure, he didn't want to go through zoning and find out the liquor control board says, no, you can't have it. So this was the first step. And I have been talking with him, I've been on the phone back and forth with Harrisburg on the process of the application and so forth to see. So it was nothing done behind anybody's back.
And just so you know, if I can just say one other thing, I do